No, I didn't see it.
That letter in the editor from that rough guard.
Huh?
That letter in the editor from rough guard, he said, why are we stopping the man?
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, March 1st, 2021, 7 p.m. Hydrich.
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Here.
Patke. Pettit. Scornia.
Here.
Solentrep.
Here.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated February 16, 2021? Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrep.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrep, seconded by Obermark, to approve our minutes from the last meeting dated February 16, 2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. Collectors Report Summary, November 2020. November 2020, and Investment Report Summary, November 2020.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on the items on the consent agenda?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Solentrep, to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the items. Thank you.
Mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments. City physician appointment.
This evening, we are appointing a city physician, and I'm happy to announce that, or appoint Ann Elizabeth Mohart. She is a physician with Mercy. I believe her bio was attached. And welcome. Ann Elizabeth was very instrumental in guiding us, working with Mark very closely during the last year. When we needed to call on someone, we often called Ann Elizabeth. And you also assist with the fire department as well. And so you've already had some of the city experience. So anyway, we are nominating her to be our city physician.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrep, seconded by Hydrich, to approve the appointment of Ann Elizabeth Mohart, medical doctor, and this term would be ending March 2022, and she would be our city physician. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've approved the appointment. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Police
Thank you for-
Department reappointment.
Evening, Council. We have for reappointment, one police officer will be Detective Betsy Schultz. Detective Schultz is an excellent in investigations. She's a prime investigator for all sex crimes, children and adults. She's an artist in interrogation. If you can ever observe one of her interrogations, you see how well she works. She gets confessions from suspects, help to make very good cases. She is thorough and capable on any type of investigation she's assigned. She's a credit to the force and to our city, and I would request you reappoint her.
Okay, are there any comments or questions?
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Hydrich, to approve the reappointment of Betsy Schultz as detective, and this would be a one-year appointment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointment of Detective Betsy Schultz.
Thank you, Council.
Chief, who's the SRO officer now?
We have Jason Gibson for the middle school, Greg Garrett for the high school, and Dave Burke does all the grade schools.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Citizens'
Chief.
comments?
Is there anyone here tonight who would like to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda? Okay.
Report of department heads, auditorium, electrical work.
Wayne?
Evening, Council. I'm here to discuss the auditorium power. Next year in 2022, we'll be doing a major renovation to the auditorium that's budgeted. One of the major projects within that project is new HVAC system. And right now with the building of the pool, we had to install a new transformer out there to get power to the pool. Within that project, I budgeted $46,000 for this new transformer that Ameren installed. We were working with an employee of Ameren's this summer who then retired in the middle of our project. And before he retired, I got a budget number from him, and he told me approximately $46,000. So that's what we budgeted in this year's fiscal year. New guy came on, he ran some different numbers, did some different things. The transformer actually wound up costing approximately $12,000. So we have a good pot of money left there. What I'm proposing to do is to use that remaining money and tie from this transformer, run electric to the auditorium, new electric to the auditorium, and then new electric to the old pool house, bathhouse. For the future. And so this would get that auditorium project ready, would be ready then next year. All we would have to do, once everything's bid out and everything like that, when we're ready for the HVAC, all we have to do is hook up to it then. Within this remaining pot of money, I propose to go out and have an engineer, since electrical is not mine or my staff's expertise, to kind of lay out the plan for us, which would include replacing the existing electrical service in the auditorium with new service to the new transformer, and then backfeed the existing electrical panels to the main panel. And then at the old bathhouse, that would include a new electrical service from the new transformer and a new electrical panel. And so the overall goal then would be to get new service to these buildings, from the existing new transformer that was put in with the pool project. It would help bury all the overhead lines within that area out there, within the pool and the auditorium area, because there's quite a few lines going through all the trees and everything out there. And then would also get the auditorium kind of ready for the HVAC project next year.
Would this $47,000 that you're talking about, is that coming out of the half-cent sales tax?
That was budgeted in the capital improvements, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There was, like Wayne said, they gave us an estimate and then came back.
And then some of
That's
it's-
the reason why we're here, is because there's leftover money in this line item. We thought it's put it to good use while we're working in that same area.
About $30,000 out of the half-cent sales tax going to go towards it. But didn't we have some already appropriated for the auditorium?
We do.
Yes, 900,000, I think.
So if he brings a contract with you, we would probably look at doing a budget amendment to adjust that capital improvement sales tax budget. But yes, we do have funds in there for that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I agree, Wayne. How do you know where everything's going to go, though, with running a conduit over there? With your electrical service you're bringing to the new auditorium? Do you know where everything's going to go yet?
We have a pretty good idea. We walked it. Steve Struberg from Horn walked it with us recently, and we came up with some ideas, and then he would draw everything up for us.
Yeah, just make sure we ain't putting it in one spot and needs to go the other way, or
Right.
something like that. So,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, this is an item that we would just need a motion to accept.
Make a
into the
motion to
minute.
accept in the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrup, seconded by Obermark to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Did you have anything else?
Yes, I just want to give a quick update on the pool. Things are moving along really well out there. You'll start, the crew that was inside the building kind of pulled off there at late January, and they'll all be coming back here shortly. The outside work has begun again since the cold weather and the snow have left us. They're doing tile work out there right now along the top strip of the pool. They'll be pouring the splash pad concrete, I think, this week or next week. Parking lot paving is supposed to be at the end of March, weather dependent. Pool deck, the rest of the pool deck that has to be poured yet, should be like the first or second week in April. And then life floor, the rubberized foam special flooring that we'll have in the zero entry and in the splash pad will be installed here within the next couple weeks once the splash pad's poured. So it'll really be taking shape. And then I know John's got everything with Circle Drive will be completed there in May, and so it'll begin looking like a real pool here within a couple weeks. So
Will that back parking lot be elevated anymore to help with the handicap ramp, or is it their handicap ramp just going to be long?
well, there's a ramp that goes up to the front door, but it's got a switch back
Okay, that's what I was,
off to it'd be the left side of the steps that go into the main breezeway area there.
so that parking lot will be the same level as the parking lot that's,
Yes. Right, John?
Yeah,
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 it's
it's, best way to say it is it's gonna be pretty similar to Circle Drive.
okay.
And then Wayne said it right there, there'll be a switchback towards the auditorium and then back up. I mean, that was an obvious component to the new pool is it has to be ADA compliant, so that was, we made sure it was going to be.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
John, do you have anything?
I do not.
Ordinances and resolutions. An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with NB West Contracting Company for the 2021 Circle Drive Overlay Project.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, in your packet, there was a letter submitted that basically summarized all the bids. We did receive 7 bids for the project. Darren kind of hit on that earlier. Lowest bid, NB West Contracting, $283,820.15. You can see the bids were fairly tight. Happy with them. Actually, my estimate was a little bit higher, quite a bit higher, to be honest with you. So I would think that those are pretty good numbers. And they would start some of the concrete work on Robert Street. If you recall, it is an overlay of Circle Drive, an overlay of Esther, so kind of in the same area. Robert Street, why are we doing Robert Street? Because it needs some new curb and gutter, some new concrete work. There's some issues with the curb and gutter with the addition of the shoe factory being done. We felt that would be a pretty good pedestrian access to the shoe factory, so it kind of made sense to work on that. Our commitments to the McBride project had us overlaying Locust Street. That's part of this bid package, so we're staying on their schedule with them. And we would also be doing an overlay on Market Street, where Andy's kind of development's going on too. We feel like all those utility cuts are finally done. So we will obviously coordinate that with Andy, but again, that will take care of some of those kind of outlying projects that need to get wrapped up. This does not complete our paving this year. High Street's still at MoDOT getting reviewed to get that start date done, so that's rolling through. And we will also have another local paving project coming out sometime here, spring, summer, with the summer construction, and that'll be a pretty big one. Fair Street and 4th Street are 2, and then we're going to be looking at a couple other asphalt overlays.
How far on Market are we going to redo?
It'll be from front to main, so just to the concrete.
Okay.
It's just a little
I
strip.
know there's some stuff still going on down there. I just hate to redo it and have to.
Oh, no, we will not. If Andy's project isn't caught up, we will just change order and just remove it from this job and move it into the next job.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to cut the street. I got to get assurances out of that project that it's ready to go. But I want to make sure it was bid and we're here. So, yeah. And we've been in coordination with them. I've been talking
Okay.
to them.
Any other questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with NB West Contracting Company for the 2021 Circle Drive Overlay Project. Scornia?
Yes.
Schoentrop?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Obermark?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Wessels?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Alex Air Apparatus to approve the purchase for a Hearst hydraulic combi extrication tool.
Heidrich.
Introduced by Councilman Heidrich.
Good evening, council. In your packet, there is a letter. We went out to bid for an extrication tool. This is a budgeted item on our loose equipment. It matches the rest of our fleet. We actually bought a similar, almost actually an identical unit last year. The goal is to step this through in a multi-year process to get basically all of our trucks to have the same tools. And so we're working through that for both the city and the district. So this is year 2 probably of 3 or 4 based on cost. We put out for bid, there were 3 vendors that could have met the spec. Only Alex Air bid it at $11,875, and we had budgeted $13,000. And we have used the like tool at least 3 times. One was a pretty serious extrication with one of the city staff's children, actually, and it worked remarkably well for a battery-operated tool. We were quite impressed.
Any questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Alex Air Apparatus to approve the purchase for a Hearst hydraulic combi extrication tool. Scornia?
Yes.
Solentrop?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Obermark?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Wessels?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bids from McQueen Emergency for the purchase of Firecom headset systems for the Washington Fire Department.
Heidrich.
Introduced by Councilman Heidrich.
On this particular one, it's in your packet as well. We went out for bid for headsets. This is a budgeted item. We wrote up a specification and sent it to bid, and when we got the bids back, we realized there's a lot more technology out there than we anticipated. We sat down and met with 2 vendors representing 3 product lines, looked over the products. There was 2 that we narrowed it down to, one out of Austin, Texas, named Setcom, and a second Firecom that McQueen represented. The third was David Clark, an excellent product used in commercial airline. It's been a staple in the industry for years. It's very expensive, great product, but the technology we were looking for and what they offered is dated. So based on price and technology, we kind of tossed them aside. We got it down to McQueen and Setcom, reached out to some departments across the country, spoke to them about the difference, and what it boiled down to is pick your vendor based on service. We did a little more due diligence in long-term maintenance cost of particularly the wireless side, and found that Firecom, though they weren't the low bid, was the best bid. We budgeted, I believe I budgeted $7,200 for each of the pumpers, and it came in at $6,535.63 per truck, and we budgeted $8,600 for the rescue squad, and it came in at $7,063.61. What these headsets do is twofold. One, with the sirens going down the road, it's hearing protection. So it's something to provide a safety factor to our firefighters with providing some hearing protection. The second piece of it is it's not just putting earmuffs on, but it's actually an intercom system. So the guys can talk back and forth in the different seats, because if you're riding in the back, you can't hear the guys up front, and the guys up front can't hear the guys in back. And allows only the 2 guys in front to actually speak on the radio, so the 2 guys in the back or 3 guys would just be providing input. They don't get to necessarily talk. So it's a dual function system. There's a number of departments throughout the area that have it. McQueen has installed a lot of sets, so we're recommending the Firecom. In addition to that, I don't think we need to do a budget amendment yet, but we're also putting the ladder truck in a package here as a replacement. There is a system on the aerial right now that's required. We have a certification that's required on the ladder next year. The system that's on the ladder now has failed. We've put about $1,200 into the existing system in maintenance in the last 3 to 4 years, and we're just throwing good money after bad at this point in time. The manufacturer no longer supports that particular brand of product, so we're looking to upgrade the ladder at the same time. So while we're doing this, we went to bid and tried to get as much buying power as we could. So we put the ladder in there as well, and the ladder came in at $8,083.63, and I believe over the course of the budget, that'll work itself out in the end. If we have to do a budget amendment, we'll pull it out of the reserve as such at the end.
This is on every fire truck?
It's again, a stepped-in approach. We looked at it last year. We looked at the trucks that go the furthest. So you look at the truck on the east side and the west side, they go the furthest, and the rescue squads. So out of the city units, we opted to do those first. The rescue truck seating configuration is also that the guys in the front and the guys in the back are the furthest apart, and that truck also runs real long runs. Next year, we're looking at doing the remaining 2 engines in the city, and then the district will be doing matching sets in the other trucks as well that they have. And the nice thing about that is the parts are interchangeable, so if you break a headset, you can pull it from one truck, put it in another truck, and it really doesn't matter. So it's probably a 2 to 3 year process, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
An ordinance accepting the bids from McQueen Emergency for the purchase of a Firecom headset systems for the Washington Fire Department. Scornia?
Yes.
Solentrop?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Obermark?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Wessels?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a fire protection service agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Washington Community Fire Protection District.
Heidrich.
Introduced by Councilman Heidrich.
First, Don Wilt passes on his apologies that he could not make it this evening. He's not feeling well. Here's Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Community Fire Protection District. What was introduced is an ordinance for the agreement between the city and the district. There's been an agreement in place for 5 years. It's worked out very well from a fire protection standpoint, providing services throughout our community. In the previous agreement, it was a stepped-in agreement with the city and the district where the district would pay a percentage of the tax allotment each year. So the revenue that the district received, the first year was 10%, second year 20%, 30%, up to year 5, which was 50%. Gave us an opportunity to look at cost and look at expenses and looked at revenue. So we were looking at all of these things. And so over the course of the 5 years, we started looking at some data and what we were doing. Prior to that, there was no contribution, if you will, or offsetting of costs from the district residents. And that before that, there was no district. There was just a tag association. So there really wasn't the funding mechanism there. When the district passed in 16, the agreement was reached between the city and the district. So we looked at the cost and expenses and realized that you could run it about 3 different ways, whether you did it by responses, you did it by the total percentage, or if you did it looking at an aggregate of it. And so what we figured out is the real cost is somewhere between 25 and 30% when you pull the exact expenses out of the line items in the budget, or if you look at it a percentage of calls, that's where it's fallen, somewhere in there, give or take. What's happening is the district was paying 50%, and what's happening is the operations budget is getting, I won't say bloated, but it's getting that the operations budget was receiving it, and the reality of it is the district is a capital operation. They don't really have the expenses on the back end, so operationally what they can do is support the city with capital. It is in the best interest of the district that the fire station in the east gets built as soon as possible. From the district residents' perspective, it really provides a lot of benefit from an insurance risk reduction, an insurance policy premium reduction in the east. What is required now by the insurance carriers, they've went very data-driven. So anytime you have a resident or a piece of property beyond 5 miles, road miles of a fire station, that's considered an unprotected piece of property. When you look out east, there's a significant amount of property that's unprotected. In the west, it's covered with the station that's being built on KK and Sunny Road and Station 3. The training center does not count as a fire station presently. It's just a training location with a truck parked in it. We don't consider that a fire station. So in the west, we have almost 99% coverage. There's a little tidbit up off of Bluff Road that's not covered, way up in the corner. In the east, it makes good sense for the city or the district to support the city in getting that station in place as far as possible. So what the district would propose and pass the resolution to support is rolling it back to 20%. In addition to the 20%, putting $100,000 back each year for 5 years, and at whatever time that the city makes a decision to make a capital asset purchase for fire protection towards the east, the district would contribute $500,000. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking money out of an operational budget and putting in a capital money. We're just shifting money is all we're doing. So in the end, the city is essentially getting the same amount of money, the district's spending the same amount of money, and the fire protection for the residents is actually getting better.
Chief, just a couple questions.
Sure.
Where exactly is the district? Just a ballpark? What?
Anything outside the city limits. So from the east, it's the Missouri River's the northern border. Starting on the east, there's a power line cut on the Stratman Farm, just west of Highway T. So we cover Elizabeth Ann Lane as our furthest east. The line gets real jagged after that. We actually cover a little bit of Highway V. We come back to the west. We cover about half of North Goods Mill. We break off on before, but we don't cover any of Bethlehem Church. We don't cover any of that. We come back down off. We cover Beaker Road, just before the substation on the Regal Farm. Basically, we cover the Regal Farm. We are just north of the quarry, the old quarry that's down there. We have the old quarry, but we don't have the new quarry of Dawson's. It proceeds west, just south of Country Club Road, and then it dips down a little further south, just north of Highway BB, and continues west all the way to Shady Rock, roughly, just a little bit west of Highway 185. And then Highway 185 kind of comes to the east, so the line goes straight up north, and we cover about a mile. When you get up to the northern side, we cover about a mile west of 185.
Huge.
65 square miles total.
And okay, when in sharing responsibilities and so forth, do they also have firefighters, or are the firefighters, are you all considered one?
The fire company is the manpower that's providing the service, and so that's a separate entity all of in itself. So the Washington Volunteer Fire Company is providing the manpower for both the district and the city. And so in the agreement with the city and the district, the city is providing the workers' comp coverage and then the fleet coverage for the apparatus regardless of which entity it is. So the fire company is providing the manpower.
And that capital funds they're going to be setting aside, that I think you said it could also help with the truck that'll be needed at the new firehouse.
Yes. So when we buy a new firehouse, so right now there's engines at Station 1, Station 3, Station 4. The plan, even the trash guy asked me the other day, how come you don't have a Station 2? And so I said, we're fixing that in the future. I said, I've gotten that question too many times. Headquarters will be renumbered 2, and number 1 will go to the east. The reason we're doing that is we're moving that company, that crew is going to be moved out of the headquarters fire station in new Station 1 somewhere in the east. And so when that truck moves out, that leaves a hole at headquarters for a pumper. And so we need at some time, we're going to have to buy an additional truck to fill that slot.
Is this what you call a mutual aid agreement?
No, I would not call this a mutual aid agreement. This is well above what a mutual aid agreement would be. This is a partnership is what I would call this. Mutual aid is more, we'll give you a truck when you call for help. This agreement is cost sharing and working together more as a partnership.
Any other questions?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a fire protection service agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Washington Community Fire Protection District. Hydrich,
Aye.
Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Obermark,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Pettit, Scornia,
Yes.
Solentrop,
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance.
Thank you. You made me nervous there, Mark.
Hey, Tim,
I can't hear.
Tim, before you, I was going to talk a little bit this evening in my comments about the training that you did, but can you just talk about that a little bit? Because I thought it
Sure.
was pretty impressive.
Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate you coming out yesterday
Yeah,
also,
so-
short notice.
A little brief.
Mercy Hospital, as many know, have, I think it's 11 homes or houses, and they're no longer homes, they're houses, over on 3rd and 1st Street. Eric Eloff, we got into discussions, and our guys worked with their folks, and they were very gracious to allow us to do training in those houses in the past couple weeks. And so we've been preparing for a number of weeks. This past weekend, the fire company actually brought in some instructors all over from the East Coast. One of the guy that kind of leads the group is from Prince George's County, Maryland. We had guys from Maryland, Washington, D.C., I had a guy from Albany, New York, a gentleman from, a couple guys from out in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. These are instructors that teach at the most prestigious conference for fire instruction in the country. It's called the Fire Department Instructors Conference, FDIC, in Indianapolis, Indiana, and they do that annually. To get to teach at FDIC is quite a prestigious thing. We were able to bring the instructional group down here. The firefighters, we went through numerous, they used multiple houses to do various skills. So one house was set up full of smoke for searching. One's house was set up for hose evolutions. One was set up for forcing entry. One was setting up for overhaul. The basic core things that a firefighter does. Those guys are the best of the best. We were on the roof Sunday cutting roofs, so you can go by there now. You'll see there's holes in the roofs and such. So we're planning to do additional training out there this week, and as long as Mercy has those houses standing, we're going to continue to go out there and train. It doesn't get better than a real life house. Training center's fantastic. It's an awesome structure, but it gets to the point where you can only configure it so many ways. And when you get into these different houses, it's the realism of it is so much better. And then you take that instructional staff that you bring in here, and it brings it up to a whole nother level. I believe, I'm waiting for the final numbers. I heard between Friday and Saturday, there was somewhere close to 90 people. Firefighters from as far away as Columbia, Jeff City. We had guys from Olivet come out. We had folks from Ellsbury. Bowles brought some guys down. So Marthasville had folks over. We had firefighters from around the region come in here and do the training. Sunday we had about 15, so all total we trained over 100 folks through this training. It was excellent stuff, good stuff. Our guys worked hard. There was a run of Advil and naproxen in town because our guys were hurting. Sore knees, sore backs, sore arms. We had some people train all 3 days. They just couldn't get enough of it. But it was an awesome experience, awesome opportunity. And when we get those houses, it doesn't get much better than that for the training. Sandy was able to come out and saw a couple evolutions for some search and rescue work as well as hose work being done. We were piping smoke into the house. There were no fires in the buildings. There was smoke and straw that we used through barrels and pushed it in the house. And we have smoke machines that will simulate smoke that would fill this whole room up, and you guys wouldn't see each other sitting seat to seat there. So it was an awesome opportunity. So it went very, very well.
Okay, thank you. I was very impressed, and all week when I would drive by, I was like, well, that shirt says Columbia, and I don't think I realized the magnitude of how many people were really going to be trained this weekend here
It
in
was
Washington,
fantastic. The instructors want to come back to Washington. The guys, particularly out of Charlotte, we took them out to dinner the other night, and they're like, we want to come back. We want to do another training class for you. Let us know when we can come back, and we'll be here as soon as we can and do more with you guys. We like coming out here. One of the comments they made, one of the guys, the DC guy, he's a tillerman for a ladder truck up in Washington, DC. He says, we're more excited to be here training than you guys are to be here. And I go, I'll challenge you on that one a little bit. But they were fantastic, down to earth, non-egotistic, no egos. They understood, do your job, and they were excellent group of guys to have trained us. So it was well.
They were very complimentary of how the community supports the fire department as well. They recognize that.
Absolutely.
And, so it was good.
Yep.
So.
They see it in the fleet and the facilities and equipment we had. They were trying to talk me out of some equipment so they could have it at their departments because they don't have stuff so nice. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Dynamic Tree Service for the removal of trees in a sightline easement area along the East Riverfront Trail.
Solentrop.
Introduced by Councilman Solentrup.
So as part of the agreement that we, the city worked with property owners back in the mid to late 2000s, we were approached by the Hummingbird Club to move forward with that sightline easement and move forward as the agreement stipulates. Just so everybody understands, basically, they have to go ahead, contact the city. Then, in so doing, we have the Parks Department, Josh Wargo, our arborist with the city, goes down, identifies the trees that the city feels that we need for bank stabilization, whatever other means necessary. With the help also with the engineering department, they were able to go ahead and provide a map. I think John's trying to pull that up now, maybe.
Yep.
But anyway, and then once they're identified, then the entity, we go out for bids for the tree removal, and the entity that we have the agreement with has to go ahead and pay for the tree removal that we both parties agree to, and provide insurance for such. So this started back in October, I think, when we got the letter. And so it's been a while, but this was a bigger project. You know, they had saved up quite a bit of money to go ahead and have this done. And I think this is the first time we've been approached in at least my time as city administrator. I don't remember anybody when the last time was before that.
It was 2008, I think, right after it was put in place. I think.
Okay, so, I mean, it's,
So we have this agreement with a number of property owners?
I would say we have it with approximately a dozen,
Probably more than that.
15?
It's like 18,
Oh,
19,
18?
something like that.
Okay, sorry.
Ah.
There's a list that we have, and it transfers from the property owners, so it's like if somebody else purchases one of those properties, it comes along with the property.
Yeah, so Darren received the letter back last fall, and there wasn't a whole lot of information in my files on the last time when this was completed, but I believe it was 2008, 2009. And so it took a little bit. Josh and I went down there a couple times, walked it, tried to learn what we thought from the agreement, how we understood it. And I came back and I showed John and then Mark, and they understood it a different way. And then I walked it with Tom Barbarick from the president of the Hummingbird Club, and he understood it a different way. So then we kind of all reconvened again. And then that's where this engineer came up with this drawing. And so in the red there along the riverbank, trees can be removed, but they can't be removed. There has to be like 40 feet of spacing within the drip line, so for bank stabilization. And then that red triangle is kind of the view from the lower windows of the Hummingbird Club out to the corners of the property line along the river there. And so it kind of goes down that bottom part there in the orange where it says do not disturb. Most of those trees that would be in that orange triangle below towards the end of the document, or bottom of the document there, if those trees are above that plane, and it as you get closer to the riverbank, it gets shorter, like about 20 feet or so.
Yeah.
And then as you go up towards the club, it gets taller. And so if they're above that plane, then they need to be removed. And so between the orange area and then the red area along the bank there, Josh marked 80 trees that need to be removed. We know Tom expressed, and I could definitely see this, how this could happen. About halfway through the project, or even when the project's over, we'll reevaluate, make sure we got everything that needs to be removed. There could be, the way we bid it out, there could be an additional, I don't think there'll be any more, there shouldn't be any more than 15 more trees that could be removed. So we told the bidders to bid it on 95 trees, max. But right now, we got 80 trees marked, so we hope there's,
The total removal?
so I hope there's less than 95 that we have to remove.
Yeah, I can give you just a little more, just to hit on, I mean, this sightline easement agreement, I think is exactly what it's called, but it's got a horizontal, so literally the triangle that Wayne hit on, that's a horizontal component, that's a legal description spelled out very distinctly, but it also has a vertical component, and that's this orange down here. So not only like most properties, well, all properties are transferred via horizontal meets and bounds description, this has a vertical component. So, from here to the top of the plexiglass, for example, could be removed, but below that could not. And it's spelled out very specifically in that agreement. In addition, it only applies to what's our property. So there's railroad property that runs through there too. So removal of trees on railroad property is not our problem. That's the railroad's problem. They don't have an agreement with the railroad.
Correct.
They have an agreement with the city, and the city does not have an agreement with the railroad. So.
And so with this, there are no trees being removed in the wetlands. This particular area, there's, I don't know how you'd say it, but less wetlands than further west towards the bridge. Kind of gets skinnier or narrower there along the wetlands, kind of follow the railroad tracks there. So everything we were real cognizant about, we didn't want to have contractors working in the wetland or anything like that. So there's no trees. Plus that, those trees closest to track aren't really affecting their sightline view anyways. So no trees in the wetland are being removed. We had a mandatory pre-bid meeting. We had 4 bidders show up, and we had three bidders submit bids. You can see the bids, they were listed in your letter. Dynamic Tree Services was the lowest bidder with $29,925, and then Craig's Tree Service at $32,515.23, and then Arbor Masters at $33,700. And so Josh Wargo, the arborist, will go down and create a kind of in the center of the property, the center of that triangle area there, kind of an access road for the contractor. And he would operate off that access road, so he's not just driving randomly all over in that area. So he'll back his chipper up in there and his machines and things like that, and just kind of go east to west, back and forth, whatever he needs to do for the most part. That way he's not creating ruts and things like that. And then in the bid, or in the bid document, we had anything under 14 inches could be chipped up and left on site, and then anything over 14 inches would need to be removed. And during the pre-bid meeting, they asked if the anything over 14 inches could be taken to the city compost site, and I talked to John, and John said yes, since it was a city project, that it could be taken there. So that did help out with the pricing a little bit too.
Is the orange or yellow line that goes around it the property line?
That's their property line, yes.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
On these maps, these are all taken off the county's GIS, which is graphical interface systems, that those lines are not surveyor quality lines, and that aerial literally is underlaid. So it'll move, that property line can vary, maybe to where my cursor at, could vary to right here. So just so you know, it's close.
That's pretty close.
It's not
'cause
perfect.
That property line's right behind the bar.
Right, I just want to be clear that it can shift visually on these exhibits a little bit.
John, on that, can you scroll down? Is that,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that give the height of what's being cut out also on that little chart there? Is that what that is?
Yeah, yep, heights on the y-axis, station, which is distance, green line, distance, is on the x-axis, and it'll show you this is essentially the railroad tracks, just shows you the bluff. Anything below that you cannot disturb. Anything, if there's an obstruction above that on city property, then it would be removed in accordance with what the agreement is.
I'm just trying to figure out from that, how tall are these things?
I mean, you're looking at, Wayne can, you're looking at, for example, right here, at 200, at this location right here, okay? Same location, you're looking at 60 feet, so 60 feet.
That's a do not disturb area there.
Correct, but if it was at elevation 65, above that, the crown of the tree was above that, it would be a remove. See, it's the top of the tree. if the tree was 65 foot tall, it would have the potential to be removed pending arborist allowance, I guess.
Most of the trees that are being removed are on the smaller side. I'd say a lot of them are 14 inches or less. There will be some that are bigger than that, and some of them are damaged or have a lot of vines in them and things like that too. The bigger trees are along in the red area along the south riverbank there there's a couple of them that were left last time, so now they're even bigger than they were before, and so we're pretty selective on which ones could be removed. And there's also some of those trees too have damage to them. Some of them are in decline. Some of them have vines in them too. I think, if I remember correctly, there's in that red area, I think about 4 or 5 trees that need to be removed. Most of them are in that orange area. A lot of them are willows and box elders and things like that. So the trail will be, when this work goes on, the contractor will be driving in from the east end, like the sand plant end, coming in, and Josh is actually meeting with them tomorrow down there on site. They'll be discussing on how the trail and when the trail will be closed. And I'm hoping just portions, like depending on what they're doing and when they're doing it, just the section in front of the Hummingbird would be closed. So you might have from the sand plant to the Hummingbird, that could be open. And then you might have from Riverfront Park to the Hummingbird be open, and just that section in front of it be closed. But when they're driving in and things like that, it could be closed for a short period of time. The Hummingbird Club is meeting tonight. They had their board meeting, and they were talking about this bid. Tom anticipated that they would approve it, and that he could bring the full deposit to me tomorrow.
Wayne, did they indicate how long the work would take? So when you're talking about trail closure, is it a
The
week-long project,
contractor,
or- I have no idea.
contractor said he'd like to start on March 8th, and he anticipated taking, depending on weather, about 7 days.
Okay, thank you.
So I think I had it in for the project to be completed by April 2nd, I think, so.
Is this the same approach we take with all other 17 homeowners at that time? They come,
Yes,
request?
yes.
And is anyone else, I mean, we've done this with the Hummingbird. Correct me if I'm wrong. We started this in 2007, right?
This is the second time.
And this is the second time we've done it with
Yeah.
them. Right, okay.
And they've been saving their money and stuff since then.
And we did it the same approach as this?
Yes.
To my knowledge, yes, Jeff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all,
I think it's a little more,
It's spelled out in that easement agreement, so.
Right, I just don't remember how it happened. I don't remember this being like this or.
no, it's a little more
I don't know that
detailed this
We had this
time.
much detail.
Oh,
Gotcha,
we had
right,
that.
that's what I didn't know.
Yeah, I think it's a little more detailed this time.
And you
No,
weren't
I'm
on there
glad-
yet,
I'm
Jeff.
glad we do.
Yeah.
We weren't even on here yet on the council when we did it the first time with the Hummingbird Club.
Are
None of us were here.
they possibly going to put up some signage that they're doing this under contract with the city? So somebody doesn't get the idea?
Yeah, we could probably
Yeah.
put that
idea.
on our barricades and stuff stuff down there. It probably needs to go up on Facebook and things like that, so.
That's why you make the big bucks.
That's a good idea.
Don't worry.
Any other questions or comments? It's in place to do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we can read again.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Dynamic Tree Service for the removal of trees in a sightline easement area along the East Riverfront Trail. Hydrich,
Abstain.
Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Obermark,
Abstain.
Patke,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes,
Scornia,
Yes,
Solentrop,
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending section 700.010 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, these next 5 ordinances are in reference to the water code, so I can go through each one of them. But if you recall, at the last admin ops meeting, we discussed some potential changes to the water code, with the goal being, again, to provide citizens additional options to assist them in getting their bills paid on time before delinquency and shutoff. Another benefit would be that the city would take over the curb stop maintenance, which again, we feel that that's a tool more utilized for the city, for obvious billing purposes, and those type of things, where currently today, that curb stop is supposed to be, or is required to be maintained and owned by the property owner. When they do fail, it does become a hassle and a cost to said property owner should there be a failure. So this would take those over, and the city would take over that tool. If there was an issue with it, we would replace that at our cost. So again, I think that's a benefit. The first one here that's been introduced, this actually raises the Reconnect fee to $75. Currently, it's $50. We took a look at some costs of what it actually takes for us to reconnect. And what it would also do is allow us to allow 2 additional hours per the code to reconnect. So we would man essentially the, for lack of better terms, the call center, I guess, on reconnect fees, an additional 2 hours to allow people to call in, get water reconnected back up, send a person out. We felt that was a little bit of a customer service, but there's a cost to that. So it would be an increase, and that's this is one of these 5 that is a potential, could be viewed as a additional cost incurrence to someone who is delinquent and who has had their water turned off. So that's the first one.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance amending section 700.010 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Aye.
Patke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrop.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending section 700.020 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
This is the code section that references the curb stops I was just discussing. So this would essentially change the verbiage that that the curb stop would be owned by the city, not the property owner.
Okay, any questions or comments?
An ordinance amending section 700.020 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Aye.
Patke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrop.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending section 700.180 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, in 2015, the city put together a payment plan that would allow delinquent property owners or users, customers, to pay a kind of a prorated share to get caught back up in their payments. That payment plan was very front-loaded. I don't know the math on it, but for example, if you had a $200 bill that was delinquent and your current bill this month was $50, in order to get turned back on, you'd have to come up with almost $175. It's very front-loaded. I think there was only 2 people since that payment plan was in place that ever utilized it. So it was put in place as I think a good effort, but I think it's now now we need to try to improve on it. What this payment plan would allow you to space out that $200 hypothetical delinquency over 6 months. It'd pay 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. Or I think, right? No, 5 months, sorry. Yeah, my fault. And it would, but you'd have to keep up on your current bill at the same exact time. Now, it does have a waiver as well, that if you were to sign up for automatic bill pay, that we would waive the penalties and interest on that. Again, the idea there is that it takes a lot of administrative work to chase these payments down, those type of things. You sign up for for bill pay one time. You get one time at this.
Right.
That you sign up for bill pay, we would waive the penalties and interest on that. Again, we felt that we're going to get a lot more people to sign up for that, and it gives you a path of success to get caught up in your bills.
Okay, any questions or comments?
An ordinance amending section 700.180 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Aye.
Patke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solinchuk.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending section 700.200 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, this is, this one we did not discuss at the admin meeting. This was one that Darren and I talked about a couple months ago, and quite frankly, I forgot to put it on the agenda. But this is a payment, currently, if you are outside the city, you can hook up to city water and pay one point time or 150% of a city rate. You also have to pay
payment in lieu of
a
tax.
payment in lieu of taxes. What that means is your property taxes would go over to Franklin County. We'd have to do the math on that. And then there's a percentage that you pay that goes into the general fund. Very convoluted. Quite honestly, the money you were paying your staff to do it far out exceeded the payment in lieu of taxes. What this does is it strikes out that payment in lieu of taxes, gets rid of it, and it just adds 50% onto that additional fee, essentially, for you to hook on the city water. We currently have 0 people outside the city limits on city water.
We just had one that just disconnected, decided to go ahead and make some changes to a well and disconnect. But as John mentioned, our city clerk had in the past had to go through a spreadsheet to figure out what the payments needed to go ahead and be, just based on the formula that was within the code. Plus, it was based on a payment in lieu of taxes, and essentially what this is a service-based fee. So it was just like, let's strike this and just make it 200%. Makes it a lot simpler.
And again, we have nobody hooked up like this right now.
Correct.
And we don't anticipate any really too much, but.
You may in the future, you
Oh,
never know.
sorry.
But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any questions? Comments? Okay.
An ordinance amending section 700.200 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Aye.
Patke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solinchuk. Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending section 700.210 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, last one. The code has very specific timelines on when a bill goes out, when you need to pay your bill, and when your bill becomes delinquent pending shutoff. Those timelines were pretty condensed. They were pretty tight. So what you had was a lot of people that potentially could have been shut off. Over the years, staff was not necessarily following that code. There was a grace period that, for whatever reason, evolved into it. I'm not sure how it got to that point. But what this would do is, this would, per code, extend that payment time out, again, to help somebody pay their bill on time, the delinquencies, and actually catch up the code to what staff was doing in the first place. So I think it gives you an extra 15 or 30 days to get that done. It's a reasonable timeline, again, to try to help people not be on the shut-off list, and to really do a better job for staff to make sure that we are consistently watching that shut-off list and following city code, that we don't go outside the confines of what you all allow us to do.
Any questions? Comments?
An ordinance amending section 700.210 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Aye.
Patke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solinchuk.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement to sell and purchase real estate by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Dean and Edward Jasper, trustees or their successors of the Marcellus Jasper family trust under date of June 5th, 2003.
Saltrop.
Introduced by Councilman Solentrup.
So the city is in need of building a water tower on the east end of town. It was identified in your capital improvement sales tax. We've had other studies that reflect that you need to provide that. So we started looking at areas that we have going up and down South Point Road with the assistance of Cochran Engineering that's also helped us go ahead and identify best locations. As the council is aware, when the 30 acres was sold by the county, or at least in a joint venture to another party, the city owned 40% of that property, the county owned 60%. But what we also did as a result of that, we wanted to keep 2 acres at that time for the potential. That was the first time to go ahead and secure a site for the potential of both a water tower and a fire station that Tim had talked about earlier in his comments. With that being said, we also, like I said, took a look at what are some other locations to keep all options open. We identified probably 3 others besides the South Point property site. The ideal one we were not able to go ahead and negotiate with, just due to the fact that the seller did not wish to sell. We're not wrongfully called a seller. They peacefully wanted to own their property. So, however, this was the second site that we identified. It does have a higher elevation than what we have on South Point Road, and we've identified a significant savings with regards to the amount of what the water tower would be, to the tune of at least the estimate that Cochran had of about $850,000 savings at this location. So, with that, we've negotiated this. The only thing that was different from the price that we discussed with you is the, I believe, let me find it again, sorry. We did add at their request, as additional consideration, the city will provide 1 free connection to the city's water system for the house primarily, or whatever else if they want to at another date. Under construction of a water line from the premises to the city's existing water system, the city will provide a T connection and a valve at a location mutually acceptable to the parties that would allow for future water service. This provision will survive closing. We anticipate that we will continue that water line from Stonecrest subdivision on the west side of South Point Road in front of Marcellus Jasper, the old house that Marcellus Jasper had, et cetera. And then we will cross the road to get over to the site for the water tower.
Using this property, will that increase the pressure then for the people of Stonecrest?
It will not. Pressure is set by the height of the towers. They all have to be at the same height. It will not improve pressure.
Do they have
The-
a
the
pressure
only-
problem?
The only way you improve.
Pay him to ask that question?
Is there a,
The only way you improve pressure is to literally raise all your water towers in town, and that's not feasible. So there are locations in town that have a lower pressure, not a pressure, it still meets the DNR minimum requirement, I'm not saying that, but have a perceived lower pressure than others.
We'll figure out something.
To that, I mean, for homeowners that do have low pressure, they do make pumps that can go on the service lines to help out with those things, just FYI.
there's a solution?
There are solutions.
By acquiring this property, we still keep the option open to go ahead and put the fire station still at the South Point location, and see what else we need to go ahead and do with that property at a later date.
And I would add one more thing, Darren, is there is a 90-day due diligence period.
Thank you.
So we will be boring the site, and we will be getting together a grading plan and a better cost estimate before we move forward with signing the contract. So we want to make sure that this is subsurfacely a good location for a water tower.
So that's 90 days for the,
90 days. And we're ready to move on that once we talk.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement to sell and purchase real estate by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and Dean and Edward Jasper, trustees or their successors of the Marcellus Jasper Family Trust, under date of June 5th, 2003. Heydrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Abstain.
Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Yes.
Solentrip? Wessels?
by your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Mayor's report?
Well, thank you, Tim, for helping me out with the fire training. The other item I wanted to mention this evening was, over the weekend, George Bockledge passed away. George was did a lot in our community, and this was just kind of an interesting fact about George. But, he was a successful merchant on Main Street with the menswear that had started out as dry goods, but he started out and had the menswear, and he was always very community-minded, went on to do a lot of work with the Historical Society. I did not know, until George told me years ago, that he was elected to the city council in 1965. He was a council member here. And he was determined that he wanted the city to have a city administrator form of government. And that was a huge change back in the 60s, that suddenly we would change our form of government here in the city of Washington. And he was a big proponent of that. And with the help of Mark, we figured out that, Darren, you are our 4th city administrator since 1965. So we had Tom Finley, that was his name, David Bell, Jim Briggs, and now Darren. So you are our 4th city administrator. But George was always really big on the city and moving it forward and things like that. And he always talked about that was one of his big accomplishments. So anyway, that's really all I have.
City Administrator's report.
I just have one item. Due to problems beyond our control, we had a 2-week delay in the receipt of utility bills this month due to the U.S. Post Office and I believe with weather. So we are requesting to go ahead and waive the late fees for bills due March 8th, just this month only, due to the fact that there's just a short window. Everybody should have received their bill by now, but there was a delay in people receiving that. So we would ask for your approval to go ahead and do that for just the month of March.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Hydrich, to approve waiving of the late fee on the March billing. Is that right? The March
Correct.
billing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve that vote. Thank you.
And we do have a few items to discuss in executive session. That's all I have.
Council comments.
Terry Lane for repaving. Is that in this schedule for all the water main fixing we did over there?
Yeah, we can work that in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. I quite honestly, I missed that.
Yeah, I drove on it Saturday, so.
Yeah, it should be temporary asphalt, which it's
Yeah,
pretty rough.
right, correct.
We are, I just missed it, so thank you for the reminder.
Thank you.
I actually, I'll work with the contractor too. We may be able to get that done much quicker. It was not on this bid agenda, but I'm sure additional tonnage is welcomed if they have equipment in town, so I could probably work on getting that done and getting a change order.
Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
We need to do a roll call.
Oh, correct.
We
Second
need to
that
do a roll
motion.
call.
City Attorney's report. Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Overmark.
Aye.
Hackey.
Aye.
Pettit.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.